Our country is facing several crises as we speak. We're facing a border crisis with record-breaking numbers of illegal immigrants pouring into our country daily, weekly, and monthly. We're facing a political, humanitarian crisis in the aftermath of a chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan resulting from a fatally flawed political decision. And we're still facing a public health crisis with the resurgence of COVID putting a strain on our healthcare system and our entire economy. And despite the finger pointing that President Biden has tried to do, we're seeing the real impact of his failed policies. Every one of these crises, from the border to Afghanistan to COVID, require our attention immediately. But you haven't heard much more than a peep from our colleagues on the left. Instead, they're focused on jamming through a $3.5 trillion spending bill. You know, even if you spent $5 million per day, every single day of the year, it would still take almost 2,000 years to spend $3.5 trillion. Think about that. $5 million a day, 365 days a year, would take 2,000 years to spend $3.5 trillion. So they're either completely tone deaf on the left, or they're playing a game of hide the ball in an attempt to divert attention from these very real problems that are facing our country today. You might find yourself asking, rightfully so, how will this package help the crisis our nation is facing now, today? Will it help secure the border? Will it bring home Americans who were abandoned in Afghanistan? Will it encourage folks to talk to their doctor about getting the vaccine? The answer across the board is a definite no. This reckless tax and spending spree will not do any of the above things. What it will do is add to inflation, which is already at the highest point dating back to at least 2010. With breaking inflation and American families feeling the squeeze, it is long past time for Congress to pass some physical restraint of American families across this country. They have to have a restraint, so why wouldn't we have to have it? But the real kicker, as if spending $3.5 trillion is not enough, is what they want to spend it on. If you think the price tag is shocking, wait until you hear what programs are going to be funded with your taxpayer dollars. Tucked into this legislation is a laundry list of progressive initiatives to expand Medicare, fund climate programs, and provide universal preschool and free college, all while inflation is going sky high. With this bill, Democrats are painting a vision, their vision for what they think America should be, not what it is. And that is a socialist welfare state with handout programs from cradle to grave, with not one work incentive included. And remember, this bill only needs 50 votes. And because of that, they're trying to tack on everything that they know can't pass at a 60-vote threshold. That includes the illegal immigrants, which we've talked about. They were actually considering this in the middle of a border crisis, which is as illogical as it is radical. If it shows you just how radical this thing is, so radical that they tried to stick a policy provision into a budget bill, which, thank goodness, got struck down this weekend. The Democrats are also adding in parts of this disastrous PRO Act, including a provision to overturn 85 years of precedent enabling lawsuits from civil penalties. This would allow unions to bleed businesses dry. It would cause many companies to close up shop and move operations overseas. It is truly the kitchen sink approach to try to bypass any Republican weigh-in on these important issues on behalf of the America that we all represent. And if you think these policies are bad, the taxes are worse. Democrats are looking at a litany of taxes to throw at Americans to cover some of the cost of the far-left agenda. Top on the list is an increase in the corporate tax rate from 21% to 26.5%. That's higher than Communist China's corporate tax, higher than China's. President Trump's signature tax cut in jobs lowered this rate. As a result, we saw a surge in corporations returning to America's shores, and over $1 trillion flowed back into the country after lowering this rate. A reversal of President Trump's pro-business tax policy will directly hit American businesses, the heart of this country. That is simply something we can't afford. Family farms, they're going to come under assault like everybody else with increase of the capital gains tax and death tax. To make matters worse for our farmers, our Democrat colleagues want to increase taxes on family farms at the time of inheritance by doing away with the long-standing step-up and basics rule. For every family across Alabama, this tax bill would mean an average tax increase of over $500. More taxes mean paychecks don't go as far. More taxes mean small businesses will struggle to afford to keep employees on the payroll. And more taxes mean less economic freedom.